I did everything myself in here. That is not how you do the business. And that right there is a house that I have already flipped as well. And I already know that I can flip this house to a buyer on my buyers list because I got a strong buyers list in this area. Hey, what's up guys? John Cochran here, and today is Systems Saturday, the day that I bring you a system that I use in my business that you can rip off, duplicate, use right into your own local market. On today's Systems Saturday, what we're going to talk about is the 5 great lists that you should be using for direct mail. I'm also going to be telling you where to get these lists, and I'm also going to be telling you what to do with these lists to get maximum value out of your direct mail that you're going to be going out there and sending out. So the very first list that you should be getting if you're a real estate investor looking to bring in motivated sellers is an inherited list. This is a list of people that have inherited property. They typically do not have any emotional connection to these properties, and typically they will be willing to sell these things to get their hands on money. This is a very, very good list. This list typically is all free and clear properties that has a lot of equity, and you can get a list like that at atomdata.com, A-T-T-O-M data.com. We'll put that onto your screen as well. The second list is a tax delinquent list. This list is very difficult to get your hands on, okay? There's 2 places that you can get a list like this. Now, let me describe this. This tax delinquent list is a list that we absolutely love. We've split tested this so many different ways, but you've got to be very clear on what list you need to get. This is a list of people that are just behind on their property taxes. They're not so far into this to where these properties are going to the tax sale. That's a tax sale list. This is just people that are just behind on their property tax. I absolutely love this list because, again, these properties are almost always free and clear of a mortgage. So you might find a property that's, depending on your area and how, what the price point is, you might find a property for $200,000 that they only owe $8,000 on taxes. And oh, by the way, if they don't go out there and catch those taxes up, guess what's going to happen? They're going to take the property from them. So they have to pay that. These are also very, very motivated sellers. One of my favorite. That list right there you can get from your county auditor is by far the best and the most accurate place to get that list at. You can also get a list like this at agentpro247.com. Agent, A-G-E-N-T, pro247.com. Go to the county auditor. It's a lot easier. It's a lot better data. It's a lot harder to get it from your auditor, but it's a lot better data. The third list is actually a divorce list. People that are just going through a divorce right now, you can get a list like that. Very, very good list of people that, they don't want this person to have any money. They don't want this person to have any money. They're going typically at it. And a lot of times in a divorce situation, they need to sell their property. They need to sell their property. So divorce is another good list. You can get a list like that at Atom Data as well. You can also get a list like this at listability.com. You can go out there and just Google any of this stuff. The fourth list, and oh, by the way, these lists, you should be getting all of these lists because what we do with this here in a second. The fourth list that you could go out there and get as a real estate investor, which is another great one. It's very typical. It's an absentee owner list. This is a list of properties, or this is a list of people that own properties, but they do not live in the properties. So this is another real estate investor, but they don't live in that property. So it might be a landlord, it might be a flipper, it might be whatever, but this is also a good list that a lot of people will go out there and start mailing that. Now, you have heard from a lot of different people that an absentee owner is a great list to mail. But here's what I'll tell you. It is a great list to mail because, again, what we do with them, and I'm going to teach you that here in a second, but why is an absentee owner, why are they motivated? They're really not. An absentee owner, just because they own a piece of real estate but they don't live in that piece of real estate, does not mean that they are motivated to sell that property. Now, if they just recently did an eviction, possibly, but everybody goes out there and they'll just sit there and want to mail an absentee owner that has a lot of equity, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is a great motivated seller, I should mail that list. That does not mean that they're motivated. That's okay, because again, I'm going to show you what to do with it. The fifth list, this list you can get at atomdata.com or Atom Data as well, just like a lot of these lists. The fifth list that you could be going out there and getting, and you should be getting, is a purchased from 2010 to 2012 list. Now you might be like, John, what in the world? Are you going through a midlife crisis right now? What in the world are you talking about? People that purchased a property in 2010, 2012. What are you even thinking about? Why would you get a list like that? They don't have any motivation. It doesn't mean that they're motivated, but it's the same thing with this. That doesn't mean that they're motivated. So just because they bought a property in 2010 and 2012 does not mean that they're motivated. But what it does mean is it does mean that that was when all the prices were at the cheapest. So that means that these people have bought their properties very, very inexpensively. I mean, you got to keep in mind that, places like Nevada, you have grown, if you're in Nevada, you have grown in price point 124% from last year alone. or 124% from these numbers. So, oh my gosh, is it just like, that is a great list. But again, it's what we do with them. You can get a list like this at Atom Data as well. It's a great list provider that I highly, highly recommend. Now, when you look at this, okay, when you look at this right here, let's talk about the levels of motivation, okay, the levels of motivation with each one of these. If you go out there and get a list of people that have inherited a property, what is their level of motivation? They've got one level of motivation. You know that if you get that list, they need to sell that property, or they might need to sell that property, and they have one level of motivation because what you know about them is that they haven't inherited a property. So they got one level of motivation. Somebody that's tax delinquent, you go out there and get this list. How many levels of motivation do they have that you know of? One. Same thing with divorce. You go out there and buy that list. How many levels of motivation do you know that they have to have? At least one. Absentee owner. If you buy a list of all absentee owners, technically they're not a motivation, but what do you know of them? They're an absentee owner, so they have one level of motivation at least. Same thing with 2010, 2012, they would have one level of motivation. So most investors, here's what they do. They will go out there and buy these lists, and then they will send mail to a divorce list. They'll send a postcard campaign or whatever to a divorce list. Or they'll go out there and send a postcard campaign to an absentee owner list. Or they'll send a postcard campaign or yellow letter campaign to a tax delinquent list. That is not what we do, okay? See, what I want to do is I want to take these people and I want to find out who has multiple levels of motivation. They have a combination of levels of motivation. So I want to find the people who have inherited a property, who have also went out there and they're tax delinquent on their property. How many levels of motivation that is? It's 2. So I also want to find somebody that's inherited a property, that's tax delinquent, and they're going through a divorce. Would you agree that somebody that has inherited a property, they're behind on their property tax, and they're going through a divorce right now, would you agree that that is a more motivated seller that would need to sell their property right now than versus just somebody that inherited a property and you just don't know anything else? Of course, because they have 3 levels of motivation. 1, 2, and then 3. They have 3 levels. So this is all a game. This is all how many levels of motivation does somebody have? So this is a system that you actually cannot do in Excel because things are different. When you get somebody's name or their street address, it might be 123 Main Street on that list. And if that person is also delinquent on their property tax, on this list, it might be spelled out 123 Main Street. Excel will not find that lead. If you just try to do a dupe search or whatnot on that, they won't find that lead. So I ended up having to develop my own software for this called the Combo Seller Generator software. To do this, what it does is it will take up to 10 lists and it will look at all 10 of those lists, it will put them all together, and then it will spit it out as one file, and it will tell you if people have 1 level, 2 levels, 3 levels, 4 levels, 5 levels of motivation. Clearly what you're looking for is something like this. People that have 2 or 3 levels of motivation, they're going to be very, very motivated to sell. Somebody that has 4 to 5, they're also going to be very, very motivated to sell. Now, when you go out there and you have all of these lists and you know somebody that has 3 levels of motivation, Should you be going out there doing the same exact thing to somebody that has 3 levels of motivation to the same person that just has 1 level of motivation? The answer is no. You shouldn't do that, because somebody that has 3 levels of motivation, you should be doing, there's going to be less of them. So you should be doing more things like handwriting cards to them, showing up at their house and door knocking those people. You should be going out there sending packages to their house and, just a lot of different, more expensive type marketing, because you know that they have 3 levels of motivation, like they inherited a property, they're also behind on property tax, and they're going through a divorce right now. You can spend more money, and you should spend more money on leads like that, because they all cannot be created equal. So there's 5 lists that you should be going out there getting: inherited, tax delinquent, divorce, absentee owner, bought in 2010, 2012. Taking all of those lists, compiling it all together, finding out who has 1 level, 2 levels, 3 levels of motivation, and then doing different things with the people that have different levels of motivation is the key to direct mail. I highly advise that you watch this multiple times. I told you exactly the list to get. I told you exactly where to get these lists and what to do with all of these lists. I highly recommend that you go out there and you watch this multiple times so that you can really capitalize on this, because this is way better than sending out 40,000 postcards and just hoping that something sticks. This is a laser targeted approach to finding sellers that need to sell right now and getting to these people a whole heck of a lot faster. So go out there, and if you got any value out of this, go out there, comment below, subscribe to this channel, and go out there and share this video if you know others that could get value out of this. I'll see you guys on the next Systems Saturday.